Hey everyone, how you doing? Can you hear us? I should look slightly better than usual because I have a new camera. Although this is a really poor time to test the new camera because I'm a tiny bit on the screen. But in future you will be able to see me in full HD glory. Every single, blemish will be visible to you. And yes, I've moved in my cupboard. I'm literally touching both walls of my flat right now. It's really bad. Anyway, we're doing a good old-fashioned Keith dunking. We're looking for this mischievous gentleman who promised us a 20-point lead. We can't find him. Where is this real opposition that we've been looking for? And yeah, I need a better flat. Well, then subscribe to my Twitch, and I can afford a better flat. Everyone, what do you want me to say? I would simply subscribe to my Twitch if I wanted
more subscribers mean more money.
Yeah, if you want to, anyway. Yeah, it is a fair response. I don't know when your Viva is, State of Darkness, but I do want to say good luck for that whenever that is, because I've forgotten the date. Someone did subscribe at that prompting. Thank you so much. That's one step closer to the new flat. Anyway, it's... Give your money to sit down hogs, that's right. It's a Keith dunking, and we have a star-studded cast. Some of us are more recently exploded stars than others, I'd say. Some of us have had DM slides from people who I've been trying to get on the stream for a while. Who can say who that is? Who could possibly comment? Anyway, I'm gonna let the guests introduce themselves because you don't need to be introduced to the concept of a Keith dunking. We've done it before. We've been here before. We're going to do it. So in order, I'm going to go from Aarjan and we're going to go across. You guys introduce yourselves.
Yeah, I'm Aarjan. Aarjanistan on Twitter. I hate Keir Starmer. That's pretty much why we're all here. I can't say I know a hell of a lot about the history of the Labour Party or anything like that, or much about like the sort of internal politics of Labour. But as someone who, over the course of the last 8 months, has been repeatedly vindicated about my concerns about Keir Starmer, especially to close friends who doubted my concerns at the beginning, I just want to gloat today. That's the main reason I wanted to come on. So I'm glad to be joined by such wonderful people. So yeah.
And everyone has noted Aarjan's very English haircut. It is a very English haircut.
Yeah, this is my pre-assimilation phase as well. I'm going to get sent to boot camp next week. So
that's right. Soon Aarjan will be arrested and thrown in jail where he belongs, simply for saying he's English.
The boot camp is preparation to be arrested.
Yeah. Anyway, I'll hand it off to Nass, who I'm sure will plug his podcast that he's on. Will remember to do that and doesn't need me to remind him because he's never forgotten before on this stream.
Well, I am definitely not Nate Bethea, and I am on the podcast COMRADIO sometimes when I have time. Last time I was here, I was still a member of the Labour Party, so I've come to make amends for that.
Yes, I dropped the Nate's Buffet joke because he's had enough for the week. I think Nate has had more than enough. Poor guy. We love him. It's just we'll leave him out of it for one night. We'll give him a break. I'll pass it off to James, who at the end of this will be bringing a very, very special guest on. So, I'll let him introduce himself.
Yeah, very special guest here in Dublin tonight. Looking forward to it. I'm James. I'm at EcoClown on Twitter. Also one of the hosts of the Anomie Podcast, which is about anarchism in the 21st century. So we usually take something from history, like the Spanish Civil War, and then sort of do an explainer, but then like sort of bring it into how it affects things in the 21st century, because it's sort of important to get your history and your theory in, but we also, spend a lot of time just doing poop jokes as well. So if you're into that sort of thing, give us a listen. Yeah.
Okay, apparently James is a little quiet. So what I'm going to do is turn James... Oh, that's why, because I have James on 84%, like 1984. That's what's happened. Also, thank you for subscribing again for Landering Filbert. I'll hand it off to Elijah, who is a regular guest and is basically a co-host at various points of everything I do. My good mate, and I'm also wearing a shirt of his fantastic podcast that he's going to plug.
It's a wonderful bit of tat.
It's great. Everyone, my mum loves this shirt. I was voice chatting with my mum, and she was like a video chat. She was like, "That shirt rules." So I'm like, "Yes, absolutely." The coveted Maoist mum endorsement for podcasting Praxis.
I've got a whistle here for the little theme tune at some point. My name's Elijah. I am at Klezmer Rouge on Twitter. I see Sapphire just put it in the chat for you. I'm a music teacher, professional musician. And one of the many co-hosts of the sort of ever-changing lineup on podcasting is Praxis, which is at PraxisCast on Twitter. Am I the only person who's never been a member of Labour?
James, were you?
No,
I've never been Labour member. No.
Okay, I've never campaigned for Labour either.
I don't. Well, anyway, we'll forget past mistakes. We were young. We were much handsomer, you know.
I'm quite proud of that. But yeah, no, I'm the place I'm coming from about this, and I mean, who can resist a good old-fashioned Keith dunking? I am a communist, a supporter of Scottish independence. I've been involved with Scottish politics mostly. I haven't really felt much interest in the various sort of nationwide political infrastructures, and I'm starting to feel that was a good sort of instinct going back to 2010.
It's nice to have a choice, though. I would say in that case,
it is nice to have a choice. But that I think that might come up in terms of England.
Yeah.
At some point, it is nice to have a choice. But there's other ways to have choices than simple geographical delineations. Oh my God.
I will just say, you might recognise James and Elijah from the stream we did about Scottish Labour, where we decided that it basically doesn't exist and shouldn't anyway. So if you want the TLDR, that was pretty much it. I do want to open this with a question. I just want to get all of you guys' thoughts on this one. How funny is it that Keith is rattled by Twitter and shitposters? Like, how fucking funny is that? I can't even cope with how absurd that is. With the leader of the opposition has just seen that shitposters are dunking on him and has turned an even weirder shade of pink than he already is.
I mean, I remember when, soon after he got elected, and one of the first, at least dedicated Starmer memeing DM groups popped up, which is still active today, but it's not just about that. But that at the beginning, it was just there was a lot of ham posting, and it was very surreal. It was just pictures of him with just superimposed textures of ham, and it was great, but it was kind of had this quite surreal quality to it. And then
very Dada.
Yeah, it was very exactly, and
we're
it was very very sort of nonsensical. But the thing is, at some point, someone noticed that they started, and I don't know if it was just confirmation bias or what, but they started changing the exposure on his pictures that they put out to make him look less like ham. And that was one of the first moments that we were like, yes, after we got Brendan to start wearing the hat, when you finally start to see shit posting seep out into the real world.
It was definitely a big win when they started whitewashing his pictures a little bit.
I mean, yeah, I think he should be running scared, because we're not a huge group, but as a force on Twitter anyway, which is where someone like Starmer takes too much credence. You have to remember that Twitter is a tiny proportion of the population, and even people that post on Twitter are even a smaller part of that. So it has this weird effect on public discourse, and we have been able to position ourselves to be a complete thorn in the side of centrists and libs. Not to the right, because they don't they're, I mean, one, they've got plenty of trolls as well, and they just know how to ignore people or also fight fire with fire. But Libs and someone like Keir Starmer very much wants the adulation of everyone. It wants to please everyone. And when there's a faction that is hostile to them, they don't understand it. They want to sort of subsume them or belittle them. And what's so annoying about the shitpost left in the UK is the way that we can turn from going from a very coherent critique of someone's policy to then just being really stupid. And they find it very difficult to get purchase on because you're not using the rules of discourse that they were taught, at basically Oxford or any journalism school that they went to. So as a force, they should be running scared because, as the Joe Swinston thing showed, we have the ability to affect the real world and break people's brains while we're at it.
Yeah, I will just say that John Rentoul fell victim to this exact thing where I was just being a jackass to him and then asked him a serious question and he disappeared. So, John, as if you want an example of the type of centrist who can't get a grip on it, that's one. I'll let everyone else finish, Nass and Elijah, who haven't.
Just to sort of go off of that, it's entirely of their own doing. They don't have to care, right? The Twitter user base is 330 million people. By comparison, Facebook is 2.7 billion, right? It's a tiny little slice of online discourse, but because our journalists and columnists were on there first, right? And they had this little community where it was just them and they could, tweet inane shit at each other all day long. They're still really mad about it being used effectively by just angry randoms who like memes from something awful 2006, whatever, but it's them. They don't have to be like this. They control the papers, they can write whatever they want to, and yet they still come out with columns because someone made them mad the day before. They dedicate energy to this and they let it influence their discourse, and maybe we're just pushing them too far and it's going to bite us in the arse at some point.
Oh, I can't wait. But that,
we have our columnists have become fully Joker-fied because we posted too many big poop balls at them. But yeah, it's entirely up to them, and they're choosing to be rattled by it in a way that they really don't need to do. This sort of posting brain disease. I think Hussein Kiswani talks about this on his podcast. There's no need for it. There really is. We do it because it's the only way that we can actually gain some level of purchase in the wider discourse. Because for some reason, these people who control all the levers of power actually give a shit what we say, which is great. Keep doing it. Wind them up. I mean, fuck it.
Yeah, why not? I'll let Nass get the final word on it, and then I'll go to the serious questions. Well, the few serious questions we've had.
I just want to know, how is he finding out? Is he personally just sitting there late at night? You know the meme of, babe, fuck me, I'm so horny, and it's someone playing a game. It's just him and his wife, and he keeps scrolling the timeline. Or is it someone telling him, if he's in the Downfall Führer bunker and he's just losing every day?
Apparently he's a secret shit poster.
Apparently he properly gave a fuck about Twitter when he was a candidate for Parliament. At first became a candidate for Parliament. He would get properly wound up by Twitter, apparently. So he is just terminally online and obsessed with Twitter. In a sense,
it's twice now that he browses the timeline obsessively.
Right. Okay. I'll see what the serious questions are. I won't ask the question why I'm so handsome, because that was an example of a question. It was not a serious question to be. At the end, we'll ask the special guest at the end. Okay, I think that was proven to be a joke. Okay. Distinguish this has asked a somewhat serious. I'm not asking about Tonti's London mayor bid, because that was such a bizarre moment that I haven't still wrapped my head around it. But distinguish this with, will Starmer still be leader by 2022? I'm gonna offer my opening answer of yes, unfortunately. Like, there's no force that will try and remove him. We'll go from Elijah background. Still leader by 2022, yes or no?
I think so. On the simple fact that he's awful at it, and Labour seem to be just the kings of unenforced errors. You know, like they keep fucking with themselves. They keep shooting themselves in the foot. It would be so easy. They're not in power. It would be so easy to tell the donors one thing and then tell the electorate something else, right? Like the Dems just did in Georgia. They went around promising everyone $2,000 checks. Biden said $2,000 checks. It worked. They won Senate races, and then they turn around and say, "Well, fuck it, whatever." You know, didn't mean it. Labour isn't even trying. Labour's not even pretending that they have anything to offer us. You know, and I don't know what the gamble is. Is it really they can't go anywhere else? Is it like just more aggressively that than what the Dems do, for example, or is it complete ideological brain poisoning? Have they been huffing their own farts so much that they believe radical centrism is going to be, you know, any kind of winning force on its own? I would expect them to be trying to recuperate the left, but no one seems to have an interest in it. And nothing's happened compared to how many, you know, like criticisms and internal challenges had happened to Corbyn by this point in his leadership, you know, like after he'd been leader for this long. And there's nothing coming at Starmer from anyone, nowhere, not even the sort of, you know, like the Nadia Whittums or, you know, the Zara Sultanas. There's nothing really being mounted. And I don't think they want to. I don't think they care. That they're going to suck and it's fine. They don't give a shit. They have their donors. They have no reason to do anything else.
Yeah. I'll let James tackle the... Yeah, so leader still in 2022, yes or no?
That is a tough one for me, I think. I know what's going to happen to some extent is that Keir is very much there to sort of batter the left, get them to a certain point, and then the right of the party will oust Keir and get them even more right-wing in. That's their end goal. Now, when are they forced to do that? I think that's the question. It might be the case that you know, Boris Johnson is maybe not going to make it to, you know, the next election. I think that's a distinct possibility. So if they've got, you know, Rishi Sunak up, who's, you know, probably the most likely, I would say, to then become the next leader of the Conservative Party, then they might see Starmer more of a liability and move even further to the right at some point. Once Starmer has proved his usefulness to the right of the party, which is, you know, getting rid of the left members as much as possible, making sure that the trade unions are no longer interested or functioning within the Labour Party, and that you know, he's failed to pull the discourse in any direction other than where it's already going. Starmer does not have a faction within the Labour Party, from my understanding of it, and the reason that, say, Corbyn could survive that long is because he had people that believed in him and had his back, including himself. Starmer is nothing to no one. He doesn't even believe what he's saying himself, I believe. So when they start gunning for him, who's going to be there? Now, you know, and it might be a case that they let him lose that election, and then you know, then get the next one. So it's difficult. But I think the one thing that you have to sort of understand about the Labour Party is that there's a good chunk of it that are not interested in getting into power. They do not want to be in power in Whitehall, because if they did that, they will be expected to do some work, which the Tories, you know, obviously fucking hate. If they're expected to do some work, then they'll get the flack for what happens. So it's much easier for them to just sit on a cushy salary and then, you know, take their retirement job or whatever, you know, work at BA systems or whatever it is. That's what a good chunk of the Labour Party are there to do, and they're not there to do politics.
Yeah, okay. So Nass, 2022, do we still have a sentient ham, as I believe he was called by someone who can say who, as the leader of the Labour Party?
I think so, yeah. I mean, for a while I did think they're going to get rid of him from the right, but actually, like, this whole, French state thing, it's working for him, and it's what the party wants. So, as long as he doesn't do something, good, like be pro-trans, I think he'll stay where he is. And so will Boris. I also thought he would go, but I'm starting to think, despite all the death, I don't think the Tory party want to get rid of him, or even like the public. They all blame us for doing things wrong and not the government.
I mean, he's still riding at that 40% floor, so who can say whether they'll get rid of him? Probably not. Why risk it? Who knows how the public will react to Rishi Sunak? Probably the dumbest member of the cabinet by some margin.
It's a massive Star Wars fan. Did you know that?
Every single chancellor seems to be a Star Wars fan, because George Osborne was also a Star Wars fan, unfortunately, which is really letting the side down, I think.
I have a friend who said that he came to his sixth form and he started talking to him about the Thrawn trilogy. It's like, what?
Oh, that rules so hard, but I hate him so much. Anyway, before people make me like him on a personal level, we're not claiming any Tories who are pro Star Wars or Thrawn trilogy. Aarjan, please save me before mistakes happen on the stream.
So this is my sort of, and hear me out here, right? So I think that Starmer will be gone, and I think that Johnson will be gone as well. And while Johnson will be replaced by Sunak, Starmer, I think you're right. There will come a point where the fuck-ups will just get too much. And there's already, rising discontent, towards Starmer, even from people who believed in him before. Or if not believed in him, I think that's probably too strong of a word, but at least had some sort of, faith that, he would deliver something. Are no longer beginning to see that. And something that's quite in common with a lot of those people who are not seeing this in Starmer is their like for who I believe will be the next leader of the Labour Party, and that will be Tony Blair. And he will make a comeback. And once again, we'll have Rishi Sunak versus Tony Blair. And of course, if you've heard Rishi Sunak speak and turn the screen off, you'll know that he sounds exactly like Tony Blair. So we're going to have a really strange election in 2024 where we've got Tony Blair and Tony Blair against each other.
I would like to say, if you would like a golden Tonti badge to get in on the ground floor of Tony Blair's future competition against Tony Blair, you simply need to be in the top 3 of either cheerers or gifters on this channel, and I will send you one if you're UK based.
So we're having brown Tony Blair and extremely nasal Tony Blair.
Oh, you love to see it. I can't wait to not vote in that election.
A Tony Blair run for London mayor is unlikely to happen, let's just say. But Labour leader, I mean, since he is pretty much the most hated political figure in the country, and since Labour seem determined to, lose as much ground as they possibly can, why not? I mean, it seems like the logical option for them, right? The perfect next step. I mean, for someone like, people like Rentoul and Adonis and Akehurst have been crying out about this for years, so they'll be wetting themselves.
I can't wait.
These are the people in charge of the party now anyway, so why not?
I'm happy we think it's going to be that, because the other theory was that Tony Blair would come be the leader of Scottish Labour and then use that as like a stepping point to get back in. It's like fucking brain geniuses, man, thinking, yes, Scottish Labour is how he can catapult himself to power.
I will just say that Tony Blair probably thinks that Scottish Labour is well beneath him, so he will so you don't have to worry about anything if you are in Scottish Labour. And if you are in Scottish Labour, please ask for help. Make sure I hope you're doing all right. DMs are open. I love you, but please, Sorry, Scottish Labour have become a whipping boy on this stream. Possibly because I have so many Scottish people on the stream.
Well deservedly.
I mean, yeah, like, to be fair, they have it coming,
Come
but
on.
like... But I want to be nice to the people in the party because I like a lot of them, obviously. So like, yeah. All right, okay. I'll ask Bummertron. I'm not going to ask you a joke question because I don't think Keith's drinking problem / anger issue / severe gout is going to come up. But it is an amazing question, and well done.
He's just going to end up with English Nelson.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. So David has asked a very, very good question, which is, what does everyone think the end point of Starmerism is if he was to get elected and do everything he wanted? Like, slightly more competent administration. Like, ever so slightly more competent. And he still wouldn't be able to do it, by the way. Like, he's not capable of providing competence, as is well documented by this point. But we'll go from Aarjan back round.
See, I mean, if you ask me that question, it's basically impossible for me to answer that because it's impossible for me to even envision him in power, right? So, like, in the summer, I went to this open-air comedy thing that a friend organized, and a family friend of hers is an MP, and my friend decided to introduce me to her as a political journalist, and I was like, why are you...
Oh dear. Has it done the thing? It's done the thing. All right. Hold on, everyone. Give me 1 second. My Discord does this sometimes.
the stream won't be...
sorry, Aarjan. I'm back. Let me just get the thing working again. Yeah, hold on. Let me get us back up. People can hear you, but like, don't do libel. Do not do libel.
No. I wasn't.
I know you weren't gonna, but like...
I would like to blame Vladimir Putin.
Vladimir Putin. Yeah, this was a coordinated attack. I mean, what time is it in Moscow right now, anyway?
Keith sniped us. You got us good.
But yeah, so I was at this thing, and my friend introduced me to her, and was really trying to get me to like have a conversation about politics, and I was like, really, I really don't want to do this because this was like in August, and like, you know, she was like pushing me, no, let's talk, and then I was like, yeah, I mean, I left the Labour Party, you know, and then she was like, but why? I was like, well, I left when Rebecca Long Bailey got sacked, and she's like, oh, well, that's so disappointing. I mean, you know that Keir's gonna get us into number 10, right? You know that he's gonna get us into number 10. I was like, not without Scotland, and then she just said, let's not have this discussion now. They really don't, really don't have an answer for that, and this is the thing. I mean, at best, you know, he's going to get back the red wall seats, and even that, I doubt at this point. And then what? I mean, he's not going to get back Scotland, and his position with the SNP means that he's not going to be able to build a coalition with them. So he's not getting into power. Like, I think, like, even like trying to envision that, and I'm getting the feeling that like his entire purpose is to not get into power, and I think that's kind of like what Elijah was saying. I think that Labour's whole thing is just to control opposition, you know.
Yeah, okay. Nass, imagine, if you will, that Keith wins an election somehow and doesn't lose Wales, keeps Scotland, regains the red wall, and gains all the way up to, like, Jacob Rees-Mogg's seat, which is what he needs for a majority, just to give you an idea of how fucked the entire thing is. And there's a boundary review, so it's even more fucked. But imagine he comes over all of these barriers and he becomes, and he gets absolute power. You know, he's like, I love democracy. What does he do? You know?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm just going to agree with what was said. He's not going to win, but if we just entertain the idea that he doesn't try and turn the Labour Party into like the Communist Party of Russia, then he's just going to try and, I guess, restore the status quo of ended history. So let's go back to the lovely period, you know, back when we were in government, and that's all that mattered. And what we did there, you know, secondary. Doesn't matter that we sent people to like camps and stuff in immigration. I don't know really what he would do. Reverse austerity to a mild degree, which doesn't upset the Conservative Party. Maybe cave into an SNP demand for a referendum. join hands with Biden. Well, hopefully, except he's anti-British, so maybe not.
That's based though. We like that about Biden.
Yeah, I really do like Fenian Biden. I can't see it. I really can't. Just some mild technocracy and more endless wars, I guess.
Oh god, I feel it, guys. I'm really enthusiastic about this Keith guy. All right, James, what do you reckon? What is Keith's ultimate vision when realised?
So, yeah, this is a difficult one. I think I'll try and attack it from a couple of angles as quick as possible and not drone on. But I think let's take Biden as an example. Now, Biden's sort of come out of the gate. It's not been great, as Elijah was doing a tweet earlier, sort of dunking on someone for getting too easy on Biden as is. And I think Biden comes with a lot of problems. But the right moves are being made, and he's going to fail, and it's not going to be great. But as someone that has to watch like Palestinian children get blown apart on a bi-regular basis at work, if he's going to stop that happening a little bit more, that's a win for me, but that's because America has an inordinate amount of power when it comes to foreign policy at the moment, and Britain just does not have that anymore. So if Biden comes in, Starmer, let's say Starmer gets in, he's not going to have any influence on the world stage. So any good he's going to do that way is gone. The British state, like most places in Europe, there's a big lever, and it says fixed problems with the mechanisms of the state, and they have refused to pull that through COVID. They've refused to pull it for so long now that it's basically got cobwebs on it. And he's just going to look at that and go, no, I'm not going to do that. And they're just going to continue on with the track it is. The thing that I find really scary, I can't remember which book it was that I read this in, but the guy was basically, his theory was like, the reason that David Cameron and Osborne went for austerity so hard was not for ideological reasons. They basically don't have ideologies. They're idiots. They're just like, follow what they're being told and what's good economic reason. And they sort of just went with it. And because they went with it, they had to be shown to go with it, and they stuck with it, even though it didn't make any sense. That is exactly the same sort of thing that Starmer would be in as well. So I think if Starmer was in Boris Johnson's position right now, it would be slightly better. Slightly. The optics would be a little bit better, but he'd be refusing to do anything and use those mechanisms that exist to make the world a better place, or at least your country a better place. So I think Starmer would just be led by the nose, by the press.
Keith Starmer, why won't you press the solve problems button?
Yeah.
Any kind of progress in the next few years is going to be derived solely from Biden being accidentally good, just through how deranged he is with his age, and just the Labour Party watching on from the sides.
Yeah, critical support from Biden.
Getting very mad about it.
Yeah.
It's great here, though, because at least it gives Sinn Féin a little bit more legitimacy. Because if there's one thing that, like, some Irish people, like, the West Brits, but they're more American than they would be West Brits. And so they're like, oh, it's fantastic. He loves Sinn Féin. I love Sinn now. Because everyone in Ireland is from Liverpool.
Apparently.
I was going to say, yeah.
Right, Elijah, wrap us up with this.
So the point there about the fixed problems button, I just had a vision of Starmer as like was it Frank Grimes who gets really mad at work and he's like, ooh, I'm Jeremy Corbyn. I don't need donors because I have a large base of people who like me. Ooh, and I get good polling because I promise to fix people's problems. Ooh. And then he tries to push the fix problems button and trips and falls. Anyway, the Biden thing, it's relevant. I did want to briefly parenthesize the Keystone Pipeline. He axed that because that was going to lose Warren Buffett a bunch of money. And Warren Buffett is, of course, a big Democrat donor. It's not good. I mean, it's accidentally good, but there's always a reason. There's always an ulterior motive. This is, he's not doing good for the sake of good. He's doing it because it coincidentally aligns with Democrat Party interests. but he is at least able to pretend to, like, you know, try to offer something to the left in a way. And the entire Democrat, like, media party machinery has been pushing that button for months now, right? They're like, look, you're pushing him left. Look, it works. $2,000 checks. Look, isn't it great? And yeah, people are going to be happy. It was Ash Sarkar who said, oh, Biden's doing good. And I was like, no, this is the message they're trying to get out, and the little brainworm they're trying to implant in the American left is just relax, sit back, let the Dems take care of it. All you have to do is vote once every 4 years. It's great. You can leave all that hard stuff about building external coalitions and mutual aid and direct protesting and trying to come up with alternative party policy structures alone, because they are scared that if there was a left, if there was like an American Communist Party, or even on the state level where it's far more attainable, right, it would eat into their votes. But for Starmer, if he became, sorry, I'm admiring my hair. If he became leader, I think it would be similar to what I said before. I think Starmer sees himself as he could potentially fill the same role as Biden, in that he's going to restore the sort of supremacy of the neoliberal status quo, right? He's going to reaffirm that the end of history, it was actually the end. This is what, you know, this is fine. This works. Some token concessions to the left. Obama did it with weed. But Starmer doesn't seem to have the political nous to actually do that. And he's just not the kind of figure that could believably reassert the supremacy of any kind of ideology, let alone, you know, the neoliberal status quo. He's a fucking wet fart. Not even a gaseous fart. A wet one would have some consistency. What's he going to do? Like, no, sorry. What could he do? He would try. He would be like, "We're back," you know, and as
skills wallets. He'd do skills wallets. That's it. You know.
Yeah. You know. His skill wallet has been thoroughly inspected.
Like Paul Mason's. F's in the chat for Paul Mason after last night's Owen Jones thing, where he got fucking rinsed.
Paul Mason, the only man that can wallet inspect himself.
Yeah, it's impressive. Actually, Jo Swinson did also wallet inspect herself, as well documented, because she chose to believe one specific poll that put her at 230 seats, which I can never get over that. Just complete owned.
Is Paul Mason absolutely furious with the religion of the new president?
No, strangely, he doesn't think the Pope is secretly in charge of America now. It's weird how that bizarre anti-papist conspiracy disappeared. What can you say? Okay, there are two questions which are like, who's the best and who's the most cursed person to replace Starmer. I won't ask you guys that, because we both know that like the most cursed is Wes Streeting with Jess Phillips as deputy leader. It's well established on this stream that is the darkest timeline, and we're heading towards it. Thank you to David if he's in the chat for that.
The timeline is a Tonti return.
No, that would be better than Wes Streeting.
Really?
I really do believe that.
Really?
Wes Streeting's kind of like incompetent Tonti. You know, he wouldn't be able to do the bad policy.
Exactly. So Tonti would be worse.
I guess.
I think the most blessed timeline would be Gapes becoming leader.
Yes, if you have the Gapes about getting it going.
Yeah, I'd be so there for that, because like the Dude's Rock timeline is always what I'm after.
You take the milk from the south and the milk from the north. You put it in
Oh yeah, there's a Night Gape sea shanty coming soon. I guess this is as good a time to announce it as any. Right, okay, we'll do like the serious we'll do a serious question, because it's only fair that we do a serious question. Okay.
About a wholly unserious person.
Yeah, I know, but like we have to pretend. We have to pretend like, because for my sake, we have to pretend, because I have to build this platform by occasionally being serious and sensible. and then we do the milk stuff on the other streams. The sound alerts are off for this one, so there is no one just spamming milk whenever we mention Mike Gapes. Yeah, okay. Next time I have Jack on the stream, I'm gonna have him record him saying milk because it's better than Mike Gapes saying it. Okay. So here's an interesting question: do you think I think meaning Labour, will actually lose seats in various elections, and will that have an impact, or will Keith do a Kinnock and just stay through all the carnage? I don't think the Labour. I'll offer my thought on this, which is yes, they're going to lose seats in Wales, Scotland, in lots of local council areas. Probably the council area where I live, they're going to lose a lot of seats because their big flagship policy went up the wall because it got taken out of the hands of the left and put into the hands of the right, and it got fucked big time. If you've heard of Robin Hood Energy, that's the thing that's going to fuck the local council here. So, if you're not like holding your 50 or so seats in Nottingham, I don't think you're going to hold them in most of the other places in the country. I'm going to be honest with you. And I'll offer this final thought, which is the Labour right don't have the patience for a Kinnock these days. Like, they do not have the patience for it. They want Keir Starmer to they genuinely believe that Jeremy Corbyn refused to press the win button. That is like a sincere belief that these people have. They think that he refused to press it but was capable after 2017, right? So they think the win button is real, and they think that that Keir Starmer's will have voluntarily not pressed it. Especially when they, and I'm ready to go on the record with this prediction, lose seats at the next general election. If it's Rishi Sunak against Keir Starmer, we're talking 150 over. It's over. And and I'll be happy to see it because the guy's a fucking prick. Sorry, Elijah. I'll wanted to get that off my chest.
Yeah, no, you're fine. I was just going to interject, and then I realized it was actually due to go back up the way anyway. I was like, I remember some vox pop from someone in one of these northern seats that flipped from Labour to Tory in 2019, saying, everything's been shite here for so long, so we're going to try something new and vote Tory, which of course is insane because it's the Tories that have been in government, but you have all the local council issues, right? You have the sort of the various shitty corruption issues, PFI shit, all the stuff that just makes a place bad to live, which people who've been voting Labour for a long time and vote Labour at council elections as well will have started to feel the pinch of, so they decide we'll do something else. I can't see people like that coming back to Labour after a pandemic as mismanaged as this still was able to give out some, as shitty as it was, they got some money. There was furlough. There was, self-employment support. There was something. It was easy. It's easy for the Tories to make themselves look like they've been generous, caretakers during this whole thing to people who are politically uninformed. That for the exact same reasons as 2019, I don't see how that's going to dissuade anyone who voted Tory in 2019 to not vote Tory next time round. It's insane. You've got policies that were practically written by the coronavirus itself, eat out to help out, and let's give £500 to people who get the virus. That can't possibly backfire.
Just offer a thought on that policy, which is just make it a universal basic income at that point. Fuck it.
It's bolting the stable. It's locking the stable doors after the horses have bolted. Surely it would save everyone a bit of time if we gave them money to stay home before they catch the virus rather than after it.
Would have been not. I know I'm the I would simply guy, but I have been saying it for a long time that I would simply give people fucking money to stay at home. Anyway, I'm gonna get mad. Mismanagement of the coronavirus stream is coming, and we're gonna yell about it. Because I'm incredibly pissed off.
Yeah, it's insane. But the optics thing is there. And for the same reasons that voting Tory looked like the better choice in 2019, it's going to look like a fine choice to do in 2024.
Yeah. James, go for it.
So I'm going to go with the kind of more nerdy way about this. And kind of, you have to remember that the way that Parliament is set up, the way that voting is set up in the United Kingdom is to ensure that the Tories stay in power. They are the party of power. and it is heavily bowed towards them. It has been since the 1800s, when there was some sort of split with the Whig Party or whatever it is. I can't remember off the top of my head, but there was a thing in the New Statesman a couple of months ago, or last year, who knows at the moment, because it still feels like March. But they were saying that the first Black Prime Minister or ethnic minority Prime Minister will be from the Conservative Party, and that is correct. But the way the New Statesman went about it was they kind of just had that lid brain memory hole where the whole mechanisms that exist there, the structures that exist there, are to keep the Tory party in power, and that's why it'll be someone from an Afro-Caribbean or Southeast Asian background or something like that is going to become the first ethnic minority prime minister. Labour cannot win without Scotland or Wales, and it's just that simple. And they are not doing anything to try and keep those places. In fact, they're almost doing everything possible. And the reason that they don't want to is because, one, it's hard, and second of all, would require them to shift their position a little bit and try and make the world a slightly less shitty place, and that's just not within Labour's remit. Their history is of managed decline. They don't support strikes. They don't support workers. They're the party of middle management, and if you don't get that, then you're really going to struggle with politics in the UK.
I don't know enough about the history, but I remember reading someone explain in what seemed very convincingly that even at its origin, the Labour Party was an act of sort of interference in what was developing to be a good, just sort of trade union working class movement, from conception.
I mean, there's a reason that James Connolly didn't get on with Keir Hardie. They were friends for a while. If you don't know who James Connolly is, he's basically the Irish national hero of the left, and my big guy. But he saw the Labour Party for what it was, in the Victorian period. So let's not fool ourselves about what it is. And if you want to be if the left want to be taken seriously, they need to distance themselves and disallow themselves from Labour, because they're not the party of the left, they're the party of middlemen.
Mm-hmm. Everyone says read theory, but then no one does the thing the theory says.
Yeah, I would simply apply theory. If only we had a word. Theory. If only we had a word for that. Anyway, Nass, could take us away.
I think first of all, what he just said, I think Lenin was in absolute agreement with James Connolly on the nature of the Labour Party. Anyway, I don't think we'll win. They'll win, obviously. And I'm just looking forward to them being completely outflanked in terms of public spending by the Conservative Party. They'll just be like, oh yeah, you know what? We'll just do this UBI, and Labour's going to be like, what the fuck? We can't afford that. Yeah, they're just going to be relegated to 190 seats, I guess. And they're still going to blame us, those of us in the left who were in the party until at least this last year, even though it's going to have been 4 years. And yet at the same time, they can't own up for the damage they did about 10 years ago. Not to say the Tories are right when they say, oh yeah, but when Labour was in power. No. That same argument, but applied to better things.
I mean, if they blame the left and the left is still trying to operate within the Labour Party, that's bad. But if they blame the left and the left has fully committed itself to outside Labour Party movement, that's good. That empowers that, right? That gives a fringe movement a bit more space in the national discourse.
The oxygen of publicity there.
We can flip the script completely. We just have to fuck off Labour.
There's a question coming up where I might offer a thought.
I'm also looking forward to, hopefully, maybe this is a bit of a stretch, but a complete Labour wipeout in Wales, but where it's replaced with Leanne Wood only.
Yeah, Leanne Wood is the assembly member for everywhere. Please.
I love Leanne Wood.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
In every respect.
Yeah, really, this one of this stream's many ideologies is liking Leanne Wood. So, yeah. Aarjan, round up. Yeah,
Just
round
bring
up.
me a bedtime story in that accent.
Yeah, the accent is a big plus. Anyway, before this becomes a whole other stream, Aarjan, please, you're having to save us from ourselves a lot of the time.
Leanne Wood ASMR when
We are thirsty for more.
Cursed. Leanne Wood none ASMR when. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm probably like the worst person on left Twitter to ask about like local Labour politics, because my involvement with the Labour Party is relatively very recent. I only joined in 2019, and I quit in June 2020. You know, when growing up, obviously the Labour Party that I grew up with was, you know, Tony Blair's Labour. I was born in Calcutta. I came here, you know, I have socialist parents, and, you know, we all went to the Iraq war marches, and, you know, that was the politics that I was kind of radicalized by. And the idea that I'd even be a member of the Labour Party when I was, you know, in my teens, and really sort of getting into politics would have seemed completely absurd. And so, you know, when I hear all of the sort of histories of, you know, Michael Foot and, you know, Clement Attlee and blah, 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 this might as well be Lord of the Rings, you know, it might as well be Star Trek. I mean, it's like a whole like lore and a whole, you know, universe, you know, extended universe there. And like, that's like way outside of my remit. But, you know, for me, the sort of biggest insight into, at least I think, regional, you know, also as someone, you know, who's, you know, despite having lived in this country on and off, you know, for more than 20 years, I've seen very few parts of the country outside of London. And, you know, one of my biggest, you know, experiences, at least politically, you know, was a couple of times when I was working in the call center and we were fundraising for the Labour Party, once before the EU election, once before the EU referendum, and then before the 2017 election as well. But then was also phone banking before the election, before the 2019 election. And like the one, you know, every place I phone banked were all Leave voting marginals, and they all went to the Tories. But the one that really sticks out in my head, because I phone banked Dudley North. And
what did they say about dogs?
I managed to get through to what must have been a certain MP's personal fan club, because every single one of these men were just very bitter old, you know, well, middle-aged men who somehow thought that Ian Austin was the best MP they've ever seen. And I was really I was on the other side of the phone, obviously, you know, not really being able to express myself properly, but I'm thinking at that point, you know, like at what level do people really engage with politics, you know?
At the Ian Austin level, in the local veterinary office, apparently. Oh God, am I gonna have to burn the VOD?
If you do not want libel on this podcast, do not mention Ian Austin. That would be my
Yeah, I didn't say anything specific or actionable in Minecraft, of course. None of this is real. This is all Minecraft. Yeah, you know.
Exactly. No, but I mean, I thought I was just, you know, I mean, you know, fair play. He convinced a lot of people to not vote for Labour, and fair play to him. He got a peerage out of that. Fair play to him. So, I mean, so for me, that was quite a big insight into at least, you know, how, well, first of all, I think how the Labour Party is perceived in many parts of the country, which is very negatively. I think we know this by now, and also kind of like, yeah, like the level at which people engage with politics as well, and you know, ultimately it's really about the stories that they're told and you know, what they read in the papers. I mean, it really is, and nowadays probably what they get on Facebook. You know, it's not really about red or blue or Labour or Tory or socialist or whatnot. You know, so
I'm so sorry, Aarjan.
I said something very loud.
No, it's the chat. It's the chat. The chat have killed me. I'm so sorry.
Oh dear. It's okay.
I have to laugh at it because it's so. Distinguish this. You've earned the golden Tonti for that comment, so just DM me.
I can't see the chat at the moment, so I'm just letting my imagination do the work, and I've got a good idea anyway. You know?
I am not reading it out. Someone screenshot that and put it on Twitter, but like I am not reading out what that says. I've already skirted the line this stream with this particular character, so let's not cause any more problems for me. You know, I've already got enough problems in my life before we get into any Dudley North related incidents.
As Aarjan was saying, like, how does the sort of normal person engage with politics? And I was thinking, I don't know if you saw that clip on, I think it was CNN, where this guy just goes ham saying it's like the Avengers have won at the end of Endgame, the Biden inauguration. You know, it's in America, they have this very weird like fandom politics, and people behave as if it's like Marvel versus DC or something, or
Harry
whatever
Potter.
the fuck. Yeah, Harry Potter.
Avengers.
In the UK, we have a similar type of sort of consumption fandom politics, but it's not like blockbuster fandom. It's like gossip mag, favorite, weird celeb. Like everyone has that kind of parasocial relationship they had with Princess Di, but to people like Ian Austin. Like it's much sicker in that like small-minded parochial British way. Like at East, the Yanks have like big explosions and they jizz themselves over firework displays.
Are you suggesting that the Queen is going to kill Ian Austin?
Oh, there. I will point out, and I make a point on the stream, we never ever make fun of people for their appearance. But Ian Austin is 55 years old. I want that on the record.
No.
I want that on the record for you all.
No.
That can't be libel. That is his age, and the man looks like that. Okay?
No.
I can't wait for Bald QC Twitter to get hold of
This
trying to libel someone for their own age.
Yeah. Oh god. Yeah. I will, if any of the QCs are watching this, I'm Nate Buffet. So yeah.
No, I'm Nate Buffet.
Is Seth Samuels real?
Yes.
Yes. No. And anyway, I think we should swiftly move on before this becomes the who the fuck is Nate Buffet, my new game show, which is one of my favorite posts I've done recently.
Door number 1, Nate Buffet.
Yeah. Nate has been on the stream before, so it would be incredibly easy to identify him actually, because he's not lying about who he is. Yeah. Well. Yeah. Anyway, we do have a question that's kind of linked to some of the stuff that we were talking about before from Red Tim, which is, will the panelists be voting in the locals and who for? Obviously, feel free not to answer. I'm going to explain my logic very carefully. That if I still live here, where I am in the ward that I live in, and if that one Labour councillor who's good, who's a friend of mine, is still running, I'll vote for him. I get free votes. The other two, who knows? Maybe I'll vote for myself. Am I announcing something? No, but maybe I'll vote for myself. Who can say? But yeah, I suspect we know who Elijah might well be voting for, but I'll let him. Wait, hold on. Who ended this last time? It was Aarjan. It's Aarjan, right? Aarjan, you take us away.
I mean, I pretty much forgot that there were local elections this year. So, again, probably the wrong person to ask. I'm probably the wrong person to have come on the stream, if I'm perfectly honest. But at this point, yeah, I mean, it's a funny one because, like, on the one hand, obviously, I'm completely fucking fed up with the Labour Party, and you know what? Actually, what am I saying? Fuck that! I'm not gonna vote. I just went through I just had a really quick thought process, and I came to the conclusion that no, fuck these guys. I'm like, and this is exactly what they're counting on. They're exactly counting on this kind of calculation, going like, yeah, but the fuck that, like, these people have burned us time and time again. They are not interested in listening to us, and they're not even interested in trying to listen to us or even trying to appease to us. So no.
You have to be willing to withdraw that tiny piece of leverage you have, electorally speaking.
And I like I said, like I was sort of alluding to earlier, the politics that I grew up with in my family was very much like protest politics, and extra parliamentary politics, and because we fundamentally, like, my parents, I don't think have like pretty much ever voted in an election because they fundamentally do not believe in the system, and I can't really blame them. The first time I ever voted was in 2017, because that was the first time in my life that I actually had someone to vote for who wasn't a lesser of two evils, and I was also in a place where I was legally allowed to vote, and I was actually voting for a choice that I actually wanted to put my weight behind. This is a system that I fundamentally don't agree with, and obviously I know that, like, technically local politics you have more of an impact, but like at the local level, from everything I've known and have heard, Labour is even more corrupt and even more fucked. So, I definitely know that, like, at my local level, it's a mess. It's a complete mess. I don't know if you know about, Haringey in North London, but it is a complete mess over here. So, yeah, no, fuck that. They're not getting my vote.
Okay, that's pretty clear. Nice. I feel like that was pretty clear. We were going in a direction and then we just veered into what I think is essentially a correct position, though I think a troll run in Nottingham with me could work. just to wind up Labour, if nothing else. Basically, my manifesto will be fix baldness. Like, promise hair growth for everyone. Like, I'm not kidding. You may as well do that. It will make it. You have about as much power to do that as change lives. Yeah.
You can show your own as proof that you know how to do it.
That's right. I would simply grow hair, as I say to many people on Twitter. I would, and I have. Sorry, Nass, I interrupted you.
This is targeted harassment right now.
I have been blocked and reported live on stream, everyone. You hate to see it. Nass, go ahead.
I won't be voting at the next general election because I live in Kim Johnson's constituency. So not only is it one of the safest majorities in the country, I actually have a kind of based MP. Probably one of the only based MPs. I will vote for my councillor because his surname is Cummings, and he's actually an okay guy. But otherwise, and I'll vote for like abolish. We're gonna have a referendum in 2023 to abolish the office of the mayor. So I'll do that. But other than that, no.
Police abolition and mayoral abolition as well. Little known aspect of.
We're going to abolish Joe Anderson.
Oh, that's good. So good. Well, that's a whole other stream. I feel like we could have a Liverpool-based politics stream.
Oh yes, the Chippy Tits stream.
Oh dear. I know way too many people who live in Liverpool because that makes sense to me. Anyway, James. I don't think you may not. Yeah, but yeah, go ahead.
I now simply can't vote in any UK elections because I have not been living there for long enough. Because I moved to Ireland almost 5 years ago, and I somehow moved to Ireland, and it's a less paedophile-based island. So that's really something for the UK to really have a hard think about. I'm living in a country that flushes babies down the toilet 50 years ago. And it's less noncy weird than the UK. So hang your head in shame. I'd maybe make it a more broader point, though, and say, as an anarchist, the position on voting is always kind of complicated. It is a faction. Like, if you think about it as class war, and you think about it in fronts, like, voting is a front. It is probably the least important front that you can have. But having people in those positions that are helpful to you does make the job a little bit easier. Voting usually takes about 5-10 minutes of your day to do, and to go out and vote for the least worst candidate, might make your job a little bit easier. But as I say, it's the least important part of the political process. Politics takes part in the street, and anyone that tells you anything differently is completely spiffing.
I'm having to mute myself on OBS because I'm getting mega feedback through my mic, which has decided to work properly for the first time ever. So, Elijah, wrap us up. I think we might have a guess at who you're voting for locally, but go ahead.
I mean, I wasn't even aware of local elections. Does Scotland have them at different times? I don't know. Whatever. If there is in fact a council election to go to, I'll probably vote SNP. for the council, just because they're like one councillor short from being able to break the weird alliance of Labour councillors who left the party to coalition with the Tories and the Lib Dems and the Independents to keep them out. Aberdeen Council is fucked, man. It's really funny. But more excitingly, there's the Scottish government elections coming up. And for the first time in the 10 years now, in the 11 years now that I've been in Scotland, I will be able to vote, because the Scottish government recently passed a law that allows all foreign nationals to vote. Before that, it was just EU citizens. I have a Swiss passport, so not EU. But I'm going to be able to vote for a government for the first time in the 11 years that I've been living here and calling this place my home. I will almost certainly vote SNP constituency and Scottish Greens for the list, because we have this weird DeHont mixed proportion
mixed
system
member
thing.
proportional, I believe, or
Yeah,
I think it's called the
that's
additional
one.
member system in Scotland, which is it's mixed member
basically
proportional. It's the same thing. Like
it's kind of neat. Basically, you have your normal constituency first past the post elections, and then the parties who win the least of those seats get a larger number of list votes on like a second thing, so you can put candidates in a list. It has its upsides. It's better for small parties. It has its downsides, like the eternal fail sons of Scottish Labour who keep losing their constituency elections but can just pop themselves on the list and then get back into Holyrood.
Yeah, you don't like that one bit.
So there's ups and downs, but I'm honestly a little bit excited, not because voting, yay, but just because it's one extra thing to being a bit more comfortable here. I got my settled status last year. You know, everything's been a little bit fucked recently, so it's just nice to be able to experience a higher level of civic appreciation than before.
And it's always good when someone gets their settled status here, as my partner did as well last year. So everyone is much happier if they've got that. Okay, so we've probably got time for one more question before we get our extra special guest in, which I'm very excited for, because we've never done anything like this on the stream. Mostly because I was worried it would explode. The stream would explode and I'd be too popular. But all right, okay. Philandering Filbert, friend, long time viewer who subscribed today, so I'll pick your question to be the last one. What's the likelihood Labour can be PASOKified? I have bad news, which is that first past the post builds such an institutional advantage in that you're probably not going to be able to do that. Not for a while. Like, surpassing one of the two parties in the first past the post system doesn't happen very often. You could be like the NDP in Canada, who did it once, off the back of an incredibly charismatic and well-liked leader. But yeah, I mean, I don't know where you find. I don't know what, you know, if you're planning to do that, you better strap in for the long haul, because that's going to be, 10, 20, 30 years of like back-breaking work in electoralism, which might be skeptical of. I would be a bit skeptical of it. I don't know, but I'll let vote Lib Dem to destroy Labour. No, I reject and denounce that comment. Do not do that. Do not vote Lib Dem under any circumstances. They're not an anti-Tory vote. Anywhere. They're not anywhere an anti-Tory vote. Even if you're from a stupid part of the country like I was originally from, where they were the only opposition for a while. Anyway, Elijah, thoughts on PASOKification? I need to get that shirt. I
think I agree with you on the electoral PASOKification approach. I think the underlying question here is more, how do you deal with the where will they go issue? Right? Like how do you deal with the absence of alternatives? And it's all well and good to say, well, just do direct action, and that's fucking hard to do. You have to organize a whole network. It's a pain in the ass. The two avenues that I see as being potentially functional are One is just local politics, right? There's always loads of council areas that have people running unopposed that can be taken over by a small, well-organized campaign that doesn't need a huge amount of resources or like an engagement with the wider national sort of electoral project. The other avenue, and I think this is just UK specific because there's a recent history of this being a bit more successful than people ever imagined, is regionalism. So I mean, I'm a Scottish independence campaigner, obviously, so there's that. That's its own movement. The Welsh independence movement is quickly gathering steam, and I think there's no reason why you have to just leave that to the non-English parts of the UK. And I think I saw the NIP yesterday filed for party membership for the first time. I think that's a viable project, and I think that stands a far better chance of success than trying to build an alternative party structure within the same old electoral parliamentary dogshit undemocratic system that is the UK. I think we've gotten to a point where in this country that is so uniquely archaic, right, that hasn't significantly restructured in the modern era. If you compare it to countries like Germany or France or all the former Soviet countries who've far more recently come into their current modern iterations, the UK has a very anomalous, undemocratic nature, and I think that can be a strength. If the opposition to that kind of political and democratic progress is so entrenched, it's going to take something a lot stronger to break it down. And that might just have to be killing the country. So I would say regionalism. Yeah, I would say if you're in Wales, get involved with Welsh independence. If you're in Scotland, get involved with Scottish independence. It doesn't have to be the SNP. It doesn't even have to be the Scottish Greens. There's you can join RIC. There's various groups. If you're in the north of England, if you're in Northumbria, you've got the NIP, and I don't see why places like Cornwall could get some of that historical momentum going, or it doesn't even need to be something traditional or historical. You can just do it. If the country's not working for your part of the country, then fucking fuck with it.
Yeah, so announcing the launch of my party, the Mercia Independence Party, that is an actual thing, and they're obviously... and I will point out that the Wessex Independence Party is based like 20 minutes from my parents' house, and they are hilarious UKIP types, but they're like clownish UKIP, not like terrifying UKIP, they're clown UKIP. It's incredibly funny that they bother to run in that area. But if you would like to restore the 5 boroughs as existed under the Danelaw, get in touch with me because fuck this country, to be honest with you, and fuck Westminster, it doesn't work for us. So anyway, James, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. It's very interesting. There's loads of different ways you can go with it. I think where Keir really falls down in major ways is just a complete lack of imagination. I was never the biggest fan of Corbyn, but he at least, was looking at things in the right way with a good eye, especially something like the Preston model, which I really think should have been pushed way further. That should have, would have been more interesting if that had done. And, for various reasons, he's got bogged down in party politics and things like that. But UKIP show you that you can be a party that has almost no seats and absolutely pull the Overton window over to your side. Farage is basically, and it pains me to admit it, but he's the most effective politician in the UK for the past, 10, since Blair, basically. So what does that tell you? He's never won a seat in the UK. So if you want to, look over Europe, there's examples of people that are doing these sort of politics. Now, sometimes their system's a little bit fair, or it's designed in a little different way. But there's lessons that you can take from it. And I would say Sinn Féin is a good example. Now, Sinn Féin, like the SNP, come with huge baggage. They've got their issues, but you know what Sinn Féin does? Stuff. Like, there's a community centre around for me. Sinn Féin run it. I know what my Sinn Féin councillor looks like. I know what my People Before Profit council. They're there. They're at places. They're doing things. You know, they provide services. They're there for you. If they got more into, say, like doing citizens' banks and things like that, I would ensure that, you know, they would see their vote go up. And Sinn Féin are basically able to hold themselves in Ireland to you know, they're surpassing like the parties that are meant to be, you know, the parties of power in Ireland without the help of the press, you know, and that's because they're on the ground and people are engaged with them, and it's because they're not relying on the Times, they're not relying on the Journal or, you know, the Irish Independent to get their message out. It's because they're actually trying to help people in their day-to-day life, and that is what Labour has really failed to do. And Starmer is just going to lead you further down that dark path where you know, he doesn't offer anything to anyone.
I was going to say, this is an idea that's cropped up before that I've offered, which is to emulate the Ashfield independents and do local lists of like leftists and actually do things locally. Then you can start causing trouble for Labour nationally, you know.
Yeah,
yeah,
no, for sure, that would work.
Yeah.
Like,
So,
you could really put a lot of pressure on Labour,
especially
without
because
actually having any seats.
especially
Like,
because
that
their
would
councils
really-
are so bad. So yeah,
Yeah, but the point is that, look, being on Twitter and dunking on melts is lots of fun. Like, but it's not the be all and end all of politics. Like, you have to be out in the street. You have to have your boots on the ground, and if you're not doing that, then, you know, like, you're not. Are you? You know, have you got the fight? Would be what I'd be saying. And once again, asking you to
yeah.
get out on the streets.
So, but you should only do boots on the grounds after COVID. Do not do that before. Like, just to be very clear, like about. And also, see a Sly Stalin. Hope you enjoyed the
The
stream.
death count is too damn high.
Yes, it definitely is, and that's a whole other stream. Nass, you're too popular. Your Discord's been going off all stream, and
Sorry,
I was
first of all,
too embarrassed to.
why am I old? You said I was old in the chat.
Well, because you didn't know how to rotate PDF and mute your Discord.
I set the server that was getting pings on a 1 hour mute, but then it expired, so that's why it started.
You see what happened? Oh there. Speaking of can't open PDF. Aha! Now it was my turn to not be able to open PDF. All right. Oh, how
My
the
ping's
tables have
destroyed.
turned. I got dunked on so hard my Discord crashed. You hate to see it, everyone. All right, Nass. See us.
Oh
Yeah.
my god! What is the screen we have for like when you could disconnect?
Oh yeah, it's Mike Gates explaining that you know, Keith doesn't have a 20-point lead to Keith. Hope you enjoy. Thanks to David from Podcasting's Praxis for letting me use that.
So I'll change what I said earlier about not voting. Actually, I am tempted to vote for the NIP. But maybe not here because I'm a student now. I can vote in my home constituency, which would be Macclesfield, which is Tory. So I could vote NIP there. Wait, what was the question actually?
What's the likelihood Labour can be PASOKified?
It is.
It is.
It is. I wouldn't say it's gonna be. It just is.
It's already PASOK. Now all we need to do is get the number down.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably like various levels of pacification. We're in the entry level at least. Once we go sub 200, that's it, I think, and then maybe we start being considered to be like on par with the Lib Dems, at least in terms of like voting popularity, rather
Fingers
than
crossed.
seats. Because obviously, seat allocation wise, that's not going to be it's always going to be the two-party system, though. There are cases where the two-party system is broken, like in Germany and in Spain. So maybe, but yeah, Labour is already PASOKified. We're in the one-party state and, deal with it.
Yeah. And also to the person who said, so we want an opposition to be 20 points behind. We never said whose 20-point lead we wanted. To be clear, in the title, we never said whose. Anyway, Aarjan, wrap us up with the final question, then we'll get James's very special guest on.
So this is going to be me outing myself as a complete fraud on left Twitter, because this term personification keeps on showing up and I still have no idea what it means. Can someone here please explain to me what personification is?
So there was the main Social Democratic Party in Greece was PASOK, the Pan-Hellenic Socialist Movement. And they basically won the election prior to all of the devastating austerity and the whole Eurozone fuckery with 42% of the vote. They now get 6% of the vote, and Syriza completely curb-stomped them like twice, and have essentially supplanted them as the left of centre party.
Oh.
He's completely broke. Oh god. Oh no, F's in the chat.
I forgot about Dre.
Oh no, he dropped. That was so perfect. I hope someone clipped that because I just lost my mind.
The golden goal got me.
They sniped you. So it is pretty much kind of what I gathered from context before, the idea of like there being a split party and basically a party further to the left which ends up actually taking over. Very much echoing, I think, what James was saying, and like the idea that another party could push Labour further to the left. I think this idea has been floated many times, and I've sort of toyed with the idea in my head many times as well over the course of the last year. But just given the way that the Labour Party is going, firstly, like the leadership of the Labour Party, but then also like you look at the SEG and they're useless. There's no desire to actually within this current parliamentary system to actually do anything seemingly, and the people who seem to be very passionate and very determined to do things under Corbyn seem to have no real will to actually do anything about it, so I don't know. For me personally, my engagement with politics, at least now, is at a completely extra parliamentary level. I've got stuff that I'm involved with outside of here, and my writing and so on and so forth. And I personally, my only engagement with the Labour Party at the moment will be to dunk on Keith, because as far as I'm concerned, it's a lost cause. I just don't see it. There was a moment, and maybe who knows, like depending on the court case with Jeremy Corbyn, who knows, what might happen with that. And once the new membership figures get released as well, because I got an email just a couple of days ago, and I cancelled I cancelled my DD on the day that Long Bailey got sacked. And I just got an email. I never wrote into my CLP, and I just got an email today. Not today, but like last week, saying, "Oh, you've got 48 hours to save your membership." And I know that loads of other people got an email that day as well. Like the membership figures so far have been really, like I think they've been sort of fucking with that, So once they get released, once the Corbyn court case goes forward, and depending on sort of what outcome comes from that. Let's see what happens if Labour gets bankrupted completely, which is also a possibility, and which would be the funniest possible outcome.
It would be incredibly funny for like the forensic lawyer to have fucked up legally so badly that the party gets bankrupted.
Especially considering how financially well off Labour were under Corbyn. Like all the unions were getting tons of money, and they had this massive membership who were all paying their dues, and like they were really cash rich, and then suddenly within like the space of a year, if the QC manages to bankrupt the Labour Party, that'll be quite.
I want to offer a thought, which is that we will get a conspiracy theory that all of the membership for Labour was a money laundering operation because they're going to have to give that money to Corbyn. So I am going to offer that take is coming soon. Like,
Put the lathe down.
oh
my
you guys
God.
know what I'm like with the lathe. You know. Anyway, James, I think James has to get the extra special guest now to wrap. We'll do extra special guest.
He's just in another room, so I'm gonna get him very quickly.
Go grab him. We'll keep everyone entertained, and we'll reflect on how badly Nass got owned by. So basically, it went Nass getting owned, me getting owned, and Nass got owned again. So it was pretty bad.
Didn't the French Socialist Party also get completely besockified?
Yes. So
Yeah.
Francois Hollande went from
Same
winning
percent.
6%, if I recall correctly, under the generally not bad candidate, because Francois Hollande was like, I am electoral asbestos and therefore will not run again. Which I suppose is a mature recognition, if nothing else. He didn't say it in those exact terms. See, I'm adding flair to it, but... oh, God!
Hello,
Everyone, it's time for our latest segment.
it's me. It's Keir Starmer. Hello.
Everyone, it's time for our latest segment, Ask Keith. So if you have any questions for Keith,
Come on, ask Keith. I'm
Ask
20
Keith.
points ahead.
It's Keith's
I'm
questions,
the best
everyone.
at being 20 points ahead. Come on, ask me anything. I'll agree with you.
Okay, the first question is why?
Why? I agree with why, just because I can. That's why, because I'm Keir Starmer. I'm the best at being Keir Starmer.
Keith, everyone's asking, are you okay? Are you doing all right? Have you been scrolling the timeline too much?
I'm doing great. 20 points ahead. That's me. Doing great is Keir Starmer.
This isn't what I meant by show home.
How many cyclists do you need to kill a year to sustain your essence?
About 6 or 7, I find, is usually the best. What I like to do is I drive up the wrong way and I pretend to be from the consulate, and then I can't be extradited. I don't know if that even makes any sense, but I'm Keir Starmer, so anything that I do, it means that it's very good, isn't it? I'm the best at being Keir Starmer.
I just want to point out the viewer numbers dropped as soon as Keith appeared. But at this point, who cares? You cowards if you logged off. But you should follow this stream because we're going to do more stuff like this. Oh my god, Red Dixie, how much donkey blood did you drink today?
About 6 or 7, I find, is usually the best.
I'm so sorry.
What I do is I sneak up behind them, and then I drink their blood in essence, and it's what keeps me looking so young and beautiful. I'm Keir Starmer.
If I were David Cameron right now, I'd be really horny.
Actually, to be fair, there was a question about that, which is, has David Cameron ever touched you with his cock?
About 6 or 7 times, I find.
So Mr. Guntwood thanks sons crying in the chat. It's just about filthy. Okay. Okay, wait, hold on. Is your chin falling off? Asks Strang.
No, that's just the way that I like to keep it. It happens about 6 or 7 times, I find. But that's just the way it is. What I'll do is later on is I'll get the donkey blood and I'll mix it with the cyclist blood and then I'll stick it back on. I'm 20 points ahead.
I don't know what question to go for because okay, you go you, which is he has addressed you as Kylo. What was the last piece of forensics work that you did?
The last time I did forensic was when I bounced a cyclist off my Audi and I drank his blood about 6 or 7 times, I find. It was very tasty. It's what keeps my youthful appearance.
Can we get some Keir hams going in the chat, please? Because okay, industrial pet with can you count past 7?
Yes, 20 points ahead. I got you, didn't I? You thought you could get one over Keir Starmer. I showed you.
Owned with facts and logic, I think.
I did it forensically.
Yeah. Which automobile is best for cyclist sacrifice? I'm very curious about this.
Well, I mean, I would usually use something from the Mad Max universe. Very accustomed to that. I like the sixth one the best. All the seventh ones I find. But usually, to be discreet, I just like to use my Audi B7. And that usually means that I go unnoticed.
We've got a warning from the chat. Look out, Keith. Jeremy Corbyn's behind you.
No, I'll find that Jeremy Corbyn does that 6 or 7 times a day, but I'm usually pleased to make sure that he tries it, but I'm too smart for him. I'm 20 points ahead.
Okay, deliberate chaos. This is the last question we will ask Keith. Considering AI Starmer is better at opposing the government than you, what's your policy on automation?
I agree with Boris Johnson on this, I find.
Okay, alright, okay. I think we'll wrap it up there. Because I don't think I can take any more, because I think I'm going to die.
I'm just fully expecting you to say, what's the matter, smooth skin? Never seen a ghoul before.
I do that 6 or 7 times a day, I find.
Okay, I'm gonna do a thing where I say, yes, you should follow the stream. It's not always this ridiculous, but it's not always far off. You should follow the stream. You should subscribe if you really liked it. Buy my shirts. I'm gonna order my own shirts. I get them get them for cheap because they are my own. Otherwise, I'm gonna let everyone else plug their stuff, including Sir Keith. But we'll go from Elijah to Sir Keith and then round.
Hi, you follow me on Twitter at Klezmer Rouge. Listen to my podcast at Praxis Cast. Podcasting is Praxis. It's a cooperative podcast on British politics, sometimes American stuff. It's very good. And if you would like to learn, I'm trying. If you'd like to learn or improve your skills at guitar, mandolin, tenor banjo, or music theory, give me a shout. I teach lessons. It's my job.
I'm so sorry.
Thanks for having me.
No worries, mate. Anytime. I think you're coming back soon anyway. Keith, would you like to plug whatever?
That's me.
Yes.
Keir Starmer,
would you like to
points ahead.
Would you like to say goodbye to the chat or recommend any friends of yours, podcasts or accounts?
I actually have a lawyer. Did I say lawyer? I meant one of you. Very cool guy. He's called Mingley P. at Mingley P. Give him a little follow. He's a shit poster like you guys. Very smart. Follow him. I find that I do it about 6 or 7 times a day.
Okay, Nass, please save me. Also, I want to thank Nass on stream for this wonderful card he gave me for New Year's. Complete with altered Tonti signature. So I'm very impressed, and thank you so much for that.
Yeah, follow me on Twitter, Sheev Palps, for my sad posts and my sometimes funnies. Check out the podcast COMRADIO. I've not been on in a bit, but I think I'll be going back on soon after exams. I'll be back on this stream on Monday.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
When we go and restore Islamic rule to Iberia.
That's right. It's a bit ironic that at least 50% of us are drinking alcohol while we do that, but yes. Aarjan, the star of...
I'm not drinking alcohol. I'm 20 points ahead.
The star of tonight's stream, and he'll tell you why, I assume, when he gets around to it.
Yeah, I'm at Aarjanistan on Twitter. Give us a follow if you aren't. Yeah, I have an article out that I posted on my Medium, which has created a bit of a discussion, and it's about Labour and anti-Semitism. So give that a read. And I'm making a world first announcement as well that I will be starting a Patreon and a podcast soon, and because we're all content creators now, and basically I'm unemployed and I need something to do.
That's why I did this. So yeah.
Yeah, basically, right. So I will be making an announcement on my Twitter, so watch this space. But yeah, thanks so much for having me on.
No worries,
it's been
mate.
a really good laugh.
Anytime. I think we'll have you on for another New Metal or Saint Anger related stream at some point.
I love that.
I also want to say before we go, I'm on Sunday from 1 p.m. I'm continuing the Tonti Dynasty and Crusader Kings 3. We're back to the blessed land of Deira, which is the dream, because there's an independent Scotland and a united Ireland and an independent North. So it's all really cool. But yeah, definitely follow me if you like that sort of thing. Otherwise, I've got like a ton of books to read, so I'm gonna have to go because I promised people I would read books for this stream in an attempt to become literate finally after 26 years. So I'm gonna say bye to you all. Good night. Have a good one. Take it easy.
Would you fuck me?